Hello. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello.
You can start.
Okay. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this section 4I of African print fabrics and its expressive identities, part 2. I'm Angela Ifomo-Oshoporu from the University of Victoria. Today, we have 4 presenters, and the first presenter is Dr. Kehinde Adekpeba from Lagos State University of Science and Technology. I don't know if he's in the hall because he told me he will be presenting online. Is he in the hall? Because I can't see him online now.
No.
Okay. Maybe I should go to the next person. Okay, maybe we'll just wait for him. He might be here or he might join us any moment from now. Okay, let me go to the next presenter. Our second presenter is Olani Reti Falade from Adekunle Ajasin University. And the title of his paper is Reconnoitering the Intersection of Film and Fashion, Cultural Identity Projection, and Preservation in Costuming Tunde Kelani's Ajila. Sorry if I did not pronounce that very well. Mr. Olani Reti, please, we want you to quickly give us a brief biography of yourself. So I will know you better, then you can continue with the presentation.
Still joining online. We're supposed to be here.
He's not there?
No, what are any presenting papers are here now?
Okay, none of them presenting paper is on ground now.
Yes, none of them are here.
Okay, maybe I should just go on to present my own paper.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let me present my own paper. Let's, wait for them. Okay, for me, my title of my paper is African Prints and its Modern Trends. I would like to share my screen so I can speak. my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Hello, can you see my screen there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just take it from here. Like I said, the title of my paper is Print Fabrics and its Modern Trends in Africa, in Nigeria. Okay, so we'll start by talking about, my introduction talks about what African print is all about. What is African print? Excuse me. African print is like every other printed fabric that is being printed. The only difference is that it has its own features, which has to do with its motifs. Sometimes you have the motifs like you found in Adire. Yes, some people will like, are you sure? Adire Elekan precisely is an African print. But some people still don't want to believe that. They just believe that it's only the Ankara that is an African print. Anything that has to do with wax, it has to do with production. Since it is the same wax or starch that is being used to resist the dye from, penetrating certain areas of the fabric, it becomes a printed fabric. That is what gives the name print fabric, because you have to print the wax or the starch or the cassava agent on the fabric, so that by the time you dye your fabric, that area that you printed those agents on, whether it's wax, whether it's starch, whether it's cassava, lafu, wherever, it prevents the dye from penetrating, and that is what gives the name print fabric. So from my explanation, our Adire Eleko is a typical example of a print fabric, and is the first print fabric to be made in Nigeria. We also have other ones that has to do with flower. I'm talking about motif now. Others have to do with objects. So these are features of African prints, including the color, the vibrancy of the color, although not all the prints has those sharp colors, but majority of African prints has bright colors, and it's part of its characteristics. Generally, African prints is being used these days, generally, everywhere. I don't think there's any place that African print is not being used. Go to production. The production of print fabric in Africa started during the pre-colonial period. I'm talking about the indigenous production now, when cotton was planted, harvested, and spun with the use of local tools known as spindle, and later woven into textile with the help of a narrow or broad woven loom. Reports from travelers such as Park, 1799, and Clipperton, 1829, revealed the existence of a large quantity of cotton, plants, and a buoyant, flourishing textile industry where cotton of good qualities is produced in southwest in Nigeria. These have shown how sophisticated, experienced, and skillful the people, that is, the African people, are in exhibiting their intellectual knowledge through the invention of indigenous materials and equipment. The first indigenous print fabric produced in Nigeria is the Adire Eleko. It is an indigenous print pattern made using starch agents such as the maize or cassava, and later dyed in indigo. Gillon in Ademuleya 2017 notes that between the 16th and the 19th centuries, explorers and early missionaries witnessed a flourishing textile production of both weaving and cloth dyeing in Yoruba towns of Oyo, Isheri, and almost all the Yoruba towns. In the 19th century, the Europeans introduced machine-made print fabric into West Africa after mass-producing this fabric, and then brand named it African print. Africans, however, embraced the fabrics, and up to this moment, they are still patronizing. The Kaduna Textile Limited, known as KTL, became the first textile industry in Nigeria in 1957. So now the topic is actually on trends in African prints. Trends in African prints talks about changes in African prints when it comes to production, colors, uses, that is functionalities, and whatsoever. As far as it has to do with African prints, anything that relates with African prints, any changes is what actually this paper is talking about, trends in African prints. So we'll start by saying that trends in this paper refer to changes or developments in production, material use, colors, designs, apparel making, and other creatives. Apparel. Africans are known to be good when it comes to sewn clothes. We don't joke with that. Mostly when it has to do with these African prints. Oh, we like wearing good clothes. We like wearing well-sewn clothes. And there are adages in African, different areas in Africa that will tell you you are addressed the way you dress. And there's also another one that says it is the way you dress that will tell if you go to your in-laws' house, it is the way you dress that will tell if he or she will ask to come and pound for the family. That shows that if you are well-dressed and you are in an occasion or you are in your in-laws' place, they give you that respect that is due you. That yes, this is our in-law because you are well-dressed. But if you're not well-dressed, that respect won't be accorded to you. And, they can just talk to you shabbishly, the way you wouldn't want. So in Africa, we don't joke with dressing because it tells so much about us. Your dressing is your personality. So you dress the way you want to be addressed. Johnson in Wilson, 1985, says that what one wears is always a statement about oneself. And this explains the dressing in paramount on all occasions. It explains that dressing is paramount in all occasions. Now, I want to talk about the apparel. When I say apparel, I mean sewn clothes. I mean sewn clothes that are sewn using the machine, hand, or wherever. As far as something that you can put on, whether it's for the male, for the female, for the children, apparel is a sewn clothes. So I want to talk about apparel first. Print fabrics were first used as bearer clothes. Yes, I could still remember then that this vibrancy of print fabric color, it used to be dull colors, as in fabrics made with colors that are not so sharp. So because of that, they are usually used for burials. Whenever anyone wants to, do a burial, he brings out adire and share, and people buys. And on that day, you see all of them wearing the adire on that burial ceremony period. But later, when there was an improvement in color and design, people started wearing them for everyday clothes. And then with time, improved to wearing it for outing, occasions, and today is a hit. So designers are using African print fabrics together with other fabrics. This is one of the trends. African designers are using it with other fabrics to create so many unique ways of, sewing. Because to the women's side, you see them mixing chiffon, there is lace, there is bridals, there is silk, there is satin, and they do it so wonderfully well that you just love it. You know, they add this clothes to their Adire and produce to the print fabric and produce wonderful outfits. Likewise the men, likewise the children. So one of the trends is that it's been, sewn together with other fabrics to bring out the beauty. Another trend is that African print fabrics and its accessories, making of apparel, on fixing, okay, it's still the same apparel where you have to fix. These days they fix all fixables. They call some the bone, they call some so many things that have been fixed these days on our fabrics. In fact, these days, most persons no longer sew fabrics with the machine. They will just tell you to stand and they'll cut print fabrics, and there on you, they'll be fixing all the fixables. And at the end of the day, ooh, you're wearing a sewn fabric already on you. So they don't even need to go to the machine to start taking measurements. They just cut the fabric strips by strips, place it on you according to how they want it, pin it up, tack it up, so, with hand. So that's another trend that is being, in fact, is in vogue, is in trend now. Sewing of fabrics on human, on mannequin, without taking it to the machine, And another trend is using Ankara as a family identity or as self and group identity. Some notable persons identify themselves through personal adornments. And one person I understand that does this very well is Mama Nike. We all know her. That special way of dressing that, it tells so much about herself. It tells that this person is just an artist to the core. And some persons will like, she doesn't use print fabric. Like I said earlier, print fabrics is not just only Ankara. It could be Adira Eleko. Yes. So seeing her adorn herself with her made Adira Eleko, with the way she does her gele, with the beads and everything, is one way of identifying herself, that this is who she is. An artist in the making. I call her the moving artist. With her clothes, she's an artist. With the clothes, she moves. In fact, she's such a wonderful woman. So that takes us to the next slide, which also talks about another aspect of print fabric. Another trend. She talks about culture and ceremonial. Talk about ritual ceremonies. Talk about the age grade, commemorating of the dead, which I have earlier said before. Then festivals, celebrating of the New Yam festivals and so many other festivals that we celebrate in Africa, we use print fabric because, like I said earlier, groups want to identify themselves, family wants to identify themselves, everybody just wants to have a place. So the best fabric we use is print fabric. We use print fabric to identify various persons and individuals. Also, during festivals, there's the masquerades. Yes, these days, before they use other fabrics, but these days, I got to notice that masquerades also have print fabrics as part of their panels. The way that panel that they join together. I know that Dr. Adekbeba will understand better because it's part of his work. So panels, which makes up the fabrics and clothing of the masquerades, are also made from print fabrics. When we talk about weddings, talk about birthdays, christening, and so many other ceremonies which print fabrics have been part of. Okay. This is just a picture of some accessories. I call them accessories or creativities that these days print fabrics are being used to do such things. You can see this is sneaker, nose marks, which talks about protection, bangles. Then these are books, book cover. You can also use print fabrics to make them. And these are so wonderful. They could be used, you could use them for souvenirs that are so special, that are just unique, different from the normal book with its cover. Did the bag, necklace. See, there's so many things we can do with print fabrics these days. Okay, so another important trend that didn't really take so long before it vanishes is the use of the front and the back of a print fabric. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. You know, a fabric has two sides. You have the front side, which is very bright, and you have the other inner side that is not so bright. Yes, but there are still some fabrics that are printed with both sides being the same. So you can wear either side, depending on how it is being sewn. You can't differentiate from the inner or the outer, except maybe after sewing. But there are some that you could differentiate. And at a time, it was being used in fashion. Some designers, you know, after sewing, go back, take some part of this fabric, turn the back side of it, and either use it as the pocket or as the front parts, you know, designs at the front parts of the fabric. But this didn't last so long. I just noticed it for some time. It didn't last so long. So it's not, recently, I've not seen any designer designing fabrics like that, except if it picks up again. And then there's this one they call patchwork. Patchwork is of two types. When I get to the diagram, you see to my pics, you will see the differences. There are some that you have to, some people call it quilt, some people call it patchwork. You bring print fabrics bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, and, you know, sew them into a very, you know, a normal fabric. You bring bit by bit, it could be just little squares, and you put them together, sew them. As you sew them together, they're getting bigger till they become, you know, as big as how many yards of fabric that you want to use to sew your fabric, to sew your clothing. While there are some that you just sew the fabric normally and then use some, cut out some flowers from print fabric and just, you know, add to it. So there are two types of patchwork. So that's another trend in print fabric when it comes to apparel. Then wearing of print fabric apparel together with other types of fabric. Yeah, that's another one. Some persons these days officially wears print fabric, maybe as their top, and then a plain trouser or pants under, while some wears a plain trouser or pants under on top, and then the print fabric as the pants. Yet, it's a formal dressing. I've seen people dress like that to work. It's formal. And it's so cool. There's also some comedians that have dressed that way when they're you know, acting. Some use it to identify themselves, and you will later see in my pics people like Willie, flatmates. Two persons in flatmates usually dress that way. Wilberforce and the landlord, Baba landlord. In fact, Baba landlord's own is that he uses two different adire, one different one as a top and another different one as a pants. That is his code in my flatmate. Then Wilberforce can go as far as using adire and maybe an English an English shirt, or even a bedspread to sew either his pants or his shirt. I think those are what identifies them, in their character. Is part of what that makes up their character. And then wearing of print fabric apparel together with sneakers to keep smart. This is another cool one. With print fabric, you can wear your sneakers. Whether you are wearing a long gown, or is a short gown, or is adire from up to your, that is your top and your pants. Irrespective of the way you are wearing it, or the way I kept saying adire, the way the print fabric is being sewn, you can always wear sneakers on it. And when you wear sneakers on it, it makes you so smart. You can use it, you can go to anywhere you want to go to with it. In fact, it's still trending today. Okay, so these are some of the examples pics that I put together to send home some of the things I'm trying to describe. This is Oga Landlord in Flatmates. You can see his adire. Always, usually two different adire, two different print fabrics is usually what he loves to wear, to identify himself. Then this is Wilberforce, Mr. Willie. This print fabric and an English shirt on top. That is how he loves to be identified. Okay, so this is print fabric and sneakers. It's so cool. And then print fabrics for jackets. I know I've not gotten there, but let me just explain the picture since I'm already there. Then this is a lamp holder. It's a bedside lamp made with print fabric. This is a bed, also made with print fabric. Talking about beddings, interior decors. These are under interior decors. These two under interior decors. And then, yes, this is the patch I was trying to talk about. If you take a very close look at this particular work or pics, you notice there are different adire, or rather different print fabrics put together. It's not an easy work, shall. Any tailor that is giving this work should be ready to do it and then charge the client, because it's not an easy work, because you have to put all this together before you can now take the measurement of the client and then start cutting. So you have to make this fabric yourself, which is very, very tedious. And then the easier one is this. After making your fabric, then you can cut your flowers from your print fabrics or wherever you want to, and then attach to it. You can stitch, you can gum, you can whatever. Okay, so now in home/interior decoration, which is also areas that we use print fabrics for. African print fabric generates brilliant colors to illuminate our homes, providing aesthetic and comfortability. Talking about the beddings, you saw it when I showed you. The beddings, the pillowcase, the duvet, all of them can be made with print fabrics. Then the window blinds and the door blinds will be made with print fabric prints. Then we have the refurbishing of our furnitures. Yes, these days they're also being made with print fabrics with the throw pillows around. You have the interior decor, interior display, flowers, bedside lamps, and all of them. Also with print fabric. And the creativities. Under creativities, there are various types of invented creativities that you can use print fabrics for. For example, in art, print fabrics to an extent have replaced the gouache and the oil colors. We have artists that use print fabrics, that is, fabrics, as a medium to paint. Instead of using oil color, they use print fabric, and it's awesome. I've seen good works on paintings that fabrics are used, most especially print fabrics are used, to create. Then in graphics, yes, there are some objects or some motifs in African print fabrics that you can cut out, or yes, cut out, put together with some certain things. It's art, it's creativity. Put
Hello,
it together.
ma. Ma,
Hello.
please, over 15 minutes.
You've used over 15 minutes, madam. You've used over 15 minutes. And there's a panelist on the plat that are joined, Dr. Adepigba.
Okay, I'll just round up.
Please,
Okay.
just 1 minute, less than 1 minute, please. Please.
Excuse me. Okay, so there's print fabric with protections, then it has its economic value, it has its political value, and social value. Then the findings, got to know that print fabrics, have evolved over time, and that in Nigeria we have just two textile industries that makes print fabric. We have the Sun Flag and the Nikem Tex. And also we have one of these textile industry produces polyester Ankara, which is one trend I also want to talk about. When you go to the market, you don't see just 100%. You see polyester also, which they call polyester Ankara also, and they no longer use wax to produce Ankara, they use gum Arabic. And then the recommendation is that we should try as much as possible to key in and do the best we can get out of print fabrics. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Adepeba, I can see that you are around. Let me stop sharing my screen. Hello? Can you hear me? Mr. Adepeba? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Okay. You are welcome. I actually wanted to
Hi.
start with you, but you were not available online. So that was why I had to take my first.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can. I can hear you.
Okay, fine.
Thank
I
you.
said, yeah, please start. Just introduce yourself. Tell us about short biography about yourself, and then, start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. My name is Adepegba Kehinde is my first name. I am a lecturer in the Department of Art and Industrial Design, Lagos State University of Science and Tech. I specialize in graphic design and artistry. So with the knowledge of artistry, I traverse all areas of art, especially Yoruba art. But today, I'm not looking at Yoruba art per se. I'm looking at the inversion of Nigeria's textile markets, implication for, pathway to the problem of identity. That is, when we look around, we see a lot of imported textiles have affected our identity. So unfortunately, my laptop has not been functioning properly. So I will not be able to present my slide, but I will be showing using the video some important information that is contained in my flash. So the objective of this paper is to examine the effect of identity disruption vis-a-vis originality, core art, and business of the trade. One of the things that we have understood over time is that the print fabric, especially, they have projected our identity as Nigerians, as Africans, especially the one referred to as Ankara and other ones. We can relate with them. The motifs that they carry, which include crown, beads, cowrie, even contemporary objects like comb, like key, and other ones, are things that have helped us to understand who we are and to project what our textile is doing to our identity. But because we now have so much importation of foreign material, textile material, we realize that these have been affecting our originality, our identity, even the sanctity of the fact that these textile material are art pieces, and even the business of the trade. I want to go back memory lane to say that in the beginning, in Nigeria, we were doing cotton production. We were planting cotton. We are doing cotton production. We are making them into thread. We are using them to manufacture fabric in those good old days. And in the early 60s, when we have gotten our independence, we had textile companies, so many of them, who were producing printed textile, including Ankara. The market was thriving, and we are even exporting to neighboring countries in West Africa. And Nigeria was a very big producers of textile materials, including lace, cotton, another species of textile material. And we have a very big labor force in the textile industry. And we can relate with what they were producing. They were giving us a design that relates to socio-cultural aspect of our life. In fact, at the time, religious organizations like Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, and the rest were even branding textiles for their anniversary and so on. But as a result of our socio-political problem, there was a sudden decline, and this led to increase in importation. And now most of these companies are gone. They have gone down, they have closed down, and they are not producing anything anymore. And in recent time, we have the invasion of the Chinese, who are also producing printed material, simulating our Adire and other Ankara material. In 2014, I did an artwork that talks about the artwork was titled cultural clash, culture clash. And this work, I want to show you the work now. The work is showing a base at the bottom. I hope you can see the work.
Yeah.
Showing textile motifs, and from up can see some inflow of red color. And this is done. This was done in 2014, and even then we have not gotten to this situation where there is inflation of if inferior materials. Most of these imported material were not done with the right quality of cotton, and the designs do not relate to what we have. So this is what I did in that year, and this work is now really strong, reflecting that there's a problem with our textile industry. Now let's go to the discussion proper. We have factors that have affected us. One is cheap imported textile, and that is because of the poverty in the land. People will prefer to buy those compared with buying what are made of good quality that we have. We also have the problem of craze for foreign products. Another problem was absence of regular power, which means that production will not continue the way it was expected. And this also affected the production cost of companies that were producing textile. And there is also high cost of importation of raw material. It's very that we do not obtain raw material any longer from this part of the world. So it's usually imported, and there is always high cost of the material. We have middlemen, exploitative roles. They were also involved. Buyers, buy from sellers, and resell to buyers. And we also have the laborious production method, which did not give into consideration employment of technology. Now I want to show you a few examples, but this is making reference to China made textiles. And when you see the works, you'll be wondering if they are really not made in Nigeria, but they were actually simulated design of our printed textile in Nigeria. So I'll show you the one made of Ghana's kente, and other ones made of our adure. This is an example of China-made textile. This kente on the kente and the adure here, they are actually simulated design, imported from China. This is another one. We have the one at the bottom. On those both sides, the one is Ankara, the one that has red colors, Ankara. The one that is blue is batik, but they are all China-made textile. And even here, there's that plain and pattern design there. All of them made by China. We have the one that look like our direct at the bottom. They are all made by China. China is not only the Gucci one. There are other people, but they are taking the share of the number of quantity of imported simulated design that were coming to Nigeria. So when we go back to the discussion, we now realize that because of this problem, we have lost identity. There is disappearance of indigenous motifs. Originality question is also there. Simulated indigenous design were done, and that is also plagiarism. They plagiarize our indigenous design. There's also a shift from original craftsmanship to mass production. People that were engaged who find this as work that they were doing, who use their hand, ingenuity, are now being rendered jobless because of the mass production that is now done in China. Then we have decline in demand for authentic adire because of poverty. People are no longer buying those ones. There's also decline in textile art and design. In those days, we used to have textile designers who work in those companies, who are specialists, who design these motifs, this textile. They are no longer there. Most of our textile graduates don't find employment anymore in textile company because the textile company are not really there. Then we have people that we call dyers, weavers, who are working in those companies. They are no longer there. Apart from the main issue of we have become consumers as against producers. Way forward, I think there should be improvement on power supply because even for those that are still left, that are still doing something, they are still confronted with this problem, and there should be more production of affordable material. There should be textile policy reforms. There should be tax break for textile manufacturers. There are still few that are still remaining. There should be tax break for them by government so that they can be encouraged to work more. There should be ban for foreign textile, and this can only be achieved with improved border policing. There are still, if we ban them and you don't police the border, they will still be bringing in imported, smuggled textile. There should be establishment of more adire cottage industry, and there will be balancing in the growth with cultural preservation. When we are not looking at this dimension, we are also suffering in terms of how we are not preserving our culture, because the textile is not just a commodity, it's also a product of art, and is also related to our culture. So it helps us to preserve our culture. And we can also support local artisans and craftsmanship. Government can do this by giving them loans, by providing opportunities for them, and we should have reorientation. And this is one of the things that this is all about, and we should continue wherever we are to ensure that we reorientate ourselves. We should identify those that are imported and discourage people from patronizing them. Conclusion: all are sundry to tackle this menace by coming up with strategy for mitigating against our identity robbers. Those who are doing this, they are stealing our identity. If we can forgive them partially if they originate their own design by themselves, but they are copying our designs. So it's stealing, it's robbing. And there should be something that should be done to ensure that we mitigate against the identity disruption at different levels. There should be enough advocacy on this. Then we need to protect our pride and originality, as we have said. Originality helps us to be who we are. We cannot connect to foreign influences. So we must be able to identity. Then the quality of also matters. And we should also remember that this is art, and we should not derode our arts. It's our heritage. We should rather improve on it than let it go down. And finally, we must also remember that it has economic value. So the more we have imported invasion of textile into Nigeria, the more people are rendered jobless. So I think that is what my paper is all about. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, Mr. Paper, thank you so much to that insightful paper. It's so interesting. Actually, that is the in thing. That's what we are facing today. I don't know if there is still a presenter, a panelist in the house.
Is
there someone?
No.
Just the two of us.
Yes.
Okay, so with what we have just talked about, I will just give a brief summary of what we shared, and then I'll open the floor for questions. I talked about textile industry. I talked about trends in print fabrics and what the trends are all about when it comes to apparel, comes to dressing, comes to home interior decoration, artistic activities, accessories, and all of them, which means that print fabric these days is of very important value to us. Like I used to say, both the artisans, that is from the production, everybody involved in the production to the sale of print fabric these days has one way or the other of improving income due to what we use it for. Whether you're an artisan or you sell, whether you're a producer, you have a way of increasing your income since it is used often for so many things. Why Mr. Adebewa talked about print fabric, and he started by talking about the objectives, how to examine the effect of identity structure, talks about relating with motifs to understanding who we are and project our identity. He also made mention of how cottons were being produced in this country at a time, and how we had so many textile industries producing textiles and also exporting textile. Those days, there were so many textiles with job opportunities because each textile industry holds so many persons as a worker. So with that, we had so many job opportunities for the Nigerians. We talked also about design relating to our culture, which means that these days our culture are being threatened because there is no textile industry, no much textile industry producing these textiles. And what we have around us is the China own repeating our designs and then bringing them to us with fake materials. So he went on to also talk about factors that are cause of all this. He said cheap textiles, talked about inflow of imported textiles, talks about absence of regular power, and then importation of raw material, high cost of raw materials, and then technology. These are part of things that have hindered our textile industries. So he went on to talk about the way forward, which he said that that there should be policy reforms, and then they should put a ban to the inflow of textile materials into Nigeria. They should patronize our products, resuscitate our industry, because they have to resuscitate industry so that we can produce and then people can patronize. We should patronize our products, and then by patronizing our products, we'll be preserving our culture and our arts. And the government should also give loans to people, to artisans, so that they will be able to continue, this good work. With this, I open the floor to questions. Questions now.
Hello. My name is Dr. Ali.
Yeah, we are still waiting for our questions.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, we are listening.
My name is Dr. Adeyemi from Olabisi Onabanjo University.
Okay.
We talk about print fabric, you mentioned Adire and so on as from your introduction. And again, in course of your explanation, I've seen that you really presented a good paper. But I want to, what are the motifs used for African fabric? I want more explanation on that for the identity, because we can see that nowadays contemporary motifs are being used, deviating from our own real identity. Example is the Adire. You see the Adire leather produced by the Abeokuta people, including Osogbo. You see some inscription on it. Example, Aromon Mosu, I'm sleeping among the children, and so on and so forth. What are the motifs used on this printed fabric? I want to explain more on that. Then again, for Dr. Adekpepa, I want to ask this question. You also presented a good and rich paper, but in order to cope, or because it's talking about China invaded printed fabric in destruction of our own identity. I don't know. You talk about government providing fund. Is it only fund that government should provide? Because you must have an enable environment, a conducive environment for the producer. Before we have, as Abatesta, there are no more. We have Kaduna, we have Ilupeju, where they produce Ankara, there are no more, particularly because of power failure. The facilities, what are the things that government need to do, apart from providing money or apart from providing financial assistance to those who want to print printed fabric? What are those things that government needs to do in order for us to improve our locally made fabric? Thank you.
Thank you.
Adekba, you can answer. You can answer
Okay.
yours.
Yeah, thank you. That is a good question. But if you listen to my presentation, I've already mentioned other things that government should do. Why the issue of financial assistance is very key is because we have also realized that up to this moment, government is providing financial assistance to agriculture cooperatives. We have situation where government provide fertilizers. There are even small loans that are being given to these farmers, and it is across the country. Federal government is doing their own, and the state government is also doing. And the truth is that they are not the only ones that need this kind of support. In fact, we have had in the past, market woman's money, or all those stuff, and they are not really targeted at some specific area of our industry, like textile. It is very, very jamming to us. And I believe financial support is good, but I've mentioned those other ones. I also said there should be policies that will help to promote our textile industry. I also mentioned banning of importation. That's also one way we can do it. And I also mentioned that when you even ban importation, there should be policing of the border to ensure that smugglers don't bring in materials that are very banned. And I mentioned power. So power is one of the things that can provide conducive environment. Power is very, very crucial. Apart from power, there are other things. Like I was talking about the fact that there's now importation of material, which are very costly, and we can encourage planting of cotton. Cotton can be planted in Nigeria. Abeokuta, when we used to have a bad government, Abeokuta was exporting. There was a time like that. Abeokuta alone, they were exporting. Exporting cotton to England. So it means that we can go back to that. So these are the things that government can do. You know, when you talk about the identity issue, let me tell you that in those days, when you see printed material that are warm, full of yellow, red, you know that these are the ones used by the people in the East. That's part of the identity. Their printed material are always warm. When you see those ones that are green and blues, is the West. In Western Nigeria, we were used to that kind of colors. It's also part of the identity. But now they just import anything for us, and everybody just wear anything. But in those days, we have colors that share affinity with a group of people. And in the North, we used to have browns and all of that. And that's this with the kind of area, the atmosphere they are doing. So our identity is really being disrupted, and the government and us can do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so for me, there are different motifs for the Adirelekon. Like you have the flower motif, you have the Ewaege. I'm not Yoruba, but I'll try and pronounce some of them very well. You have the Ewaege, you have the Ogede, Agbegwe, which has to do with the plantain. You have the cocoa, which is the cocoa pod. Then you have the Agbagba. Sorry, I'm not Yoruba. Has to do with the plantain. You have the cocoa, which has to do with the cocoa pod. Then you have the Odan, that is the fig tree. You have the motifs of Fulawa, something like that, which is the petals. Then you have the cotton seed that talks about Korowo and all of them. And then, you know, as an artist, you can always come up, although I know there are some already stated ones, but that does not mean that you can't come up with your own motifs too, and then give it a name as an artist. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. My name is Tolulope Shibowale. I just want to make a little contribution to Dr. Adekwegba's paper when part of his comment frowned on the fact that China is currently producing a version of Adire, let me put it that way. And Adekwegba's own is on Adire. But the truth of the matter is this: we should be proud that what is our identity, others are associating with it. And the way forward to do that, I agree with you by putting a ban on importation. But at the same time, Nigerian government or business personnel can continue to adopt what China is doing so that we will continue having a benefit of our product in a new trend within us. So that is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Can I make a comment on this?
Yeah, you are free.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Shubowale. But what I wish is that if our textile industries are working, you know, the adire that we are talking about that we said the China are reproducing, simulating the design. It would have been better if we have our own textile company, you know, apart from doing their own print design. Now our own they'll be the ones producing it, and we can now see that these ones are cheaper agri printed material where we see the premium, and it will be market for everybody. It will still continue to encourage a lot of employment and all of that. But I agree with him that we should be proud that they see what is good in our agri design, but they're also destroying our business, our economy, and all of that. I think that's the area that we are not happy about.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. That's the painful part of it, because these people are really collecting from us. But if you see it from different perspective, our government really need to work and assist us. That is the only way out, because from research, the only two textile industries that are existing in Nigeria, which is the Sun Flag and the Nikemtex, said that producing is a problem because the cost of materials are too high. So by the time they finish production, then who buys the fabrics from them? Nobody. And before, they revealed that they used to produce, textile industries will produce fabric and then give it to wholesalers. Wholesalers will in turn take it to retailers. But these days, they don't produce. What they deal up is customized version. You have to come and tell them you want to produce fabric, tell them the number of fabrics bundles you want, and then pay for it before they can produce. So they don't even produce for people to buy anymore. And that is why you see, so those that have the money to them produce, but most times they don't even produce with them. The rich ones go to China and produce and then bring it to us. That's the bad part of it. But it is well, if only our governments can look into it and resuscitate these textile industries, it will be a big one, because then we have the high grade and then the low grade. Then the middle class will be able to buy the one that they can afford. While the rich one, we also go for the rich one, the richer one, or the more expensive one. I mean, it's supposed to, vary so that wherever level you are, you should be able to buy and then wear textiles, patronize the textile industry in the country. But it's not like that. That's our problem.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Dr. Sean Kwade, and I want to make this, based on your answer, I want to make this like a comment or maybe a question. Now, I want to talk about the issue of originality and affordability. Of course, in your answers, you have given some highlight on it. Now, when we talk about originality, craftsmanship from the African perspective, those that are involved in making of adire and Ankara. Now, there is a technique that is used among the indigenous people that makes what they produce to be original. But as you said, the effect of that originality has to do, it comes with high cost.
Mm-hmm.
But if another foreign country is producing en masse, that's the cost comes with low price. And look at our population. As you said, many cannot afford the one that are costly, the expensive one. So they will be forced to go with the one that is cheap. So we must be able to strike a balance between the two. Now you mentioned that the cost of production is high, so people cannot afford it. Now, what I think the government can do, which is done in other countries, is that the government should be able to take responsibility and impose higher tariff on importation. This is done in other countries. If a fabric is indigenous to China and somebody is producing it from Nigeria, before you export it to China, you pay to the extent that you are going to pay them, to the extent that the goods you are going to sell in their country will be costlier than the one produced locally. That is how to check importation. Now, the government should be able to impose a higher tariff on such importation so that it will not bring much profit to the people if they want to sell it cheap. That's one of the ways to protect indigenous industry from foreign competition. If that is not done, then it will be difficult for indigenous industries to be able to thrive, because, as you said, they are producing this fabric en masse. So that's just my comment. That's very, very, very important. Then to the second presenter, I think somebody has mentioned one of these, the comment I want to make, that the fact that other countries are producing what is indigenous to you does not make it disadvantageous to you. It should be a thing of pride, but it cannot be a thing of pride when we are not benefiting, when the other countries are benefiting more than the indigenous people that own the trade. It won't be a thing of pride. If the government is doing what it's supposed to do, and import is not competing, is not gaining an advantage over indigenous industry, then we'll say, okay, they are producing our fabric and we're proud of it. But they are producing our fabric and they are coming here to sell it and make markets, make big market. In fact, Nigeria is a market, is their first market in the world. Because they know that there's market here, they come here and they sell and they make big money and went to their own country to develop it. Then the second thing I want to mention has to do with the issue of original craftsmanship to mass production from China. Now, the fact that I'm talking about the second, I'm addressing this to the second presenter. The fact that something is mass produced does not mean that it cannot be quality. And the fact that something is produced locally through original craftsmanship does not mean that it can be more original than the one that's mass produced. It depends on technology. If our government is ready to invest in this area, we can also have machineries that we're going to use to mass produce these articles, and it will still be original. So it is not because it is done in an indigenous method and it's not mass produced that we can maintain originality. We can also maintain originality by mass production. So that's my comment.
Thank you so much.
Okay, can I speak to the question?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so I appreciate the last contribution, and I want to say that from experience, it's obvious that most of the mass-produced simulated design coming from China are inferior.
Actually.
Number one, they are light, and number two, they are glossy. They are glossy. Sometimes they look as if they are made of nylon, and when you wear them, you feel a lot of heat and sometimes they gum to your body. So the fact that those are the quality that we have seen also make us to conclude that what they are bringing is inferior. And that does not mean that everything that is done in Nigeria is superior. We also have the low level production in Nigeria, especially using some cheap materials. But so far, there has been noted that what they produce, what they brought, is very low in quality. But I've also noticed that they also make some a little bit better. Those ones are not shining, and they have of better cotton material, and they are a little bit higher. So those ones are now even higher than the locally produced ones. So it means that they have devised a market strategy
Yeah.
to kind of make it affordable to the people by making very inferior material. Now, the danger of this is that if care is not taken, if we say, and I think that's not what we are saying. If we say that we should be proud of what they have done, then there's a problem. Tomorrow, although they are doing that now, but they are not matching it anyway, they will produce okay for us. They will be importing them, and there will be a problem.
Okay, Mr.
So,
Debe, to end our section, before they cut us
okay.
off completely,
Okay.
actually, that product you are talking about is called polyester Ankara. It is called
Okay.
polyester Ankara. You have the natural cotton, which is safe. The polyester Ankara is made from chemical. So it has its own disadvantages. And you know, when you wear it, it's not comfortable on you. It's as if it's nylon. You are sweating. God help you. Fire does not get you with that polyester Ankara. It's highly inflammable. So when we talk about the Chinas not helping us with what they bring in to this place, we are saying the facts. They are not helping us. They are just
Exactly.
after their own selfish interests. Why that polyester Ankara is very cheap is that it's not made from cotton. Cotton is very comfortable and more expensive. Polyester Ankara is very cheap and chemically produced. They don't use real dye for it. They don't use natural dye. They use synthetic dye also to produce that synthetic polyester Ankara, which is synthetic fabric. So when you check everything that has to do with the production of that particular fabric, is not for our good. It's for their own selfish interest. They just to produce it and then dump it here for us. And then they have this sense of trying to, produce different grades for some that have the cash and some that also knows the advantages and disadvantages. Somebody like me knows that this is a polyester Ankara because as a textile artist, I know. When I touch, I know. When I touch half polyester, half cotton, I know. When I touch real cotton, I know. So because they want to eat all and have everything to themselves, they divide it. Pure cotton, half polyester, pure polyester for those that don't have so much that can afford small fabric.
Exactly.
So it's not for our own good, actually. If only our government can help us, it would have been better. But we don't have a choice. But I surely believe, I know that one day, someday, we will get out of this mess and become a better country.
Amen.
Do we still have more time? Do we still have more questions on the background?
Not so much time.
Not so much time. Okay.
So, like, can I just make one more last contribution?
Stop.
Now,
Yes.
the last speaker, the last contributor was also mentioning the fact that we can tax the imported material. I think that's the better way to look at it.
That's the best way to check it.
Instead of banning it completely, which we encourage smuggling.
But how can you now tax when we cannot even produce? That's our problem.
So that's one. But let us also look at something which is very crucial. You cannot have those kinds. I mean, we cannot import our own material like that to China, and that's why we can continue to blame
China will
China.
not allow you to import such
They will
things.
not allow us. Then, apart from that, I think the area I mentioned earlier is very key, because even when we are saying that the local people are using crap, they are preserving original, essentially the dye and the fabric, are they not imported? They are imported.
That is the high cost.
So what we should do that will also bring down the cost is to look inward and see how we can do our own dyes at home, how we can continue to plant cotton and make fabric by ourselves. I think if we don't get to this level, there will still be problem, because what is produced at home is partially making use of imported material, dye and fabric. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We were there before. It's just that we didn't continue. We were doing well, producing, farming, making our fabrics, and then printing. From farming of cotton to production to printing, we were just there. Just unfortunately that it happened the way it happened, that things are not the way it is. Thank you so much. Do we still have any question from anyone?
No questions. No questions.
No questions. Thank you all for coming to this section. I really appreciate your contributions, your questions, and for listening to us give our presentations. We really appreciate you all. Dr. Shobowale, I can see you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see you next year at LSC. Long live LSC.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all.
Bye, Dr. Shubawale and Dr. Adeyemi and others. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.